What's up guys, it's Drac and Jinx. Jinx wants to say hello, but this video is too serious, too dangerous to have her in it. So, whoa! Alright, so here we have the brand new Nerf Ultra 4. Now, what happened to number 2? Well, number 2 is a funky fresh revolver. What happened to number 3? Nobody really knows. Maybe we'll find out at New York Toy Fair what's going on with the triple. But over here in the Quattro, we have a gold blinged out pistol that honestly, we have to redact some of our speculations. So the key to specking is that it's not always correct. And the reason that it wasn't correct this time is that we made some serious mistakes in assuming the best. It turns out with this line, you should assume the worst. So we had high hopes that this was going to be some sort of breech system, allowing us to load into a potent powerhouse of a pistol. It's not. So this is a pretty simple front loader with built-in dart storage if you even want to count the Ultra darts as darts. You get one on either side of this bad boy, and then there is a built-in AR, except it's not an air restrictor, it's actual dart DRM all over again. And it's very interesting how they've solved the barreling issue of getting super squeaky polystyrene foam to fire out of a barrel. As I mentioned before, this is not an ideal dart. If you need more of a scientific explanation about it, it's just poorly designed in a lot of different ways. It's designed explicitly to be difficult to replicate by Chinese manufacturers in an attempt to squeeze more money out of a gullible populace, and not actually to fire downrange in either a more accurate or a longer distance sort of scenario. It turns out that in lieu of actual corporate innovation, we've decided to go with just complete corporate lies. Now, you can fire them downrange, and I actually think that it's a little clever that if you reverse engineer and figure out like, oh God, how are we gonna fire this out of a spring-powered blaster? First off, you need a nub down in there so that you can't put anything but an Ultra dart in. And then second off, instead of having actual barreling material which grip the dart and then fire through, which is how closed cell foam has worked for a very, very long time in the hobby, you instead put what essentially we did back in the day with like brass barrels. You put a tightening ring into the plastic. So there's right here at the exit, a tightening ring that kind of grips this and lets you build up pressure behind it. So you'll hear that this sounds very distinctly. It's got a pretty distinct sort of pop to it, like a noise. Now, we might need a little more. There you go. You can kind of hear one and then the smack of it hitting down the hallway. And I'm going to be honest, because of how that system is designed and how that system works, this thing's actually kind of booking it. Now, I think that it's going to be far less violent over time on the darts than something like the Ultra flywheel mechanism, which slowly over time is not quite kind to them, particularly under voltage mods. This seems to be a little bit gentler, despite the fact that it's literally choke holding the darts, building up pressure, and then throwing them through. That said, at $15, this is the rough equivalent of like how cheap can we make an Ultra Blaster. At that price point, you get a slightly decent grip, a trigger well that admittedly is better than the one in the Ultra 1, a trigger that's kind of thin. This is quite clever. I just like that it auto retracts. That's a very nice feature in my opinion. But what you don't get is any sort of breech system, anything nice like that that would be good for modifying. It does, however, let you see whether or not you're primed because the plastic is so thin and they've exposed the plunger tube on this blaster, which I think is a very bold move for a company that's usually all about quality, that you can tell if it's primed or not. So when it primes back, the black O-ring is visible. This is, of course, just the thin wall plunger tube and lets you know if it's going to fire. Now, I don't think that this is necessarily a bad blaster. I think that out of all the Ultra blasters I've had my hands on so far, and that's been more than a couple, this one's not too terribly bad. Now, quality control leaves a little bit to be desired, but this one is not a full production model, so you never know. We're going to take it apart and give a full breakdown and modification on the channel coming up really soon, so absolutely make sure that you subscribe, hit that bell button, leave me a kind comment, and you'll make sure to catch the modification guide where we'll take a look inside the internals, find out if it's using gears or a torsion spring or what have you. But for right now, we've got to figure out just how good or just how bad this system is. We got to take it outside. We got to put it over the chronograph. Then we'll come back with our final thoughts. All right, guys, so we're out here with the Ultra 4. Let's put a couple over the number reading machine, see what comes up. 96, not actually bad. That's closer to rival level FPS. 94. 96. We'll do 2 more. We'll get a 5 dart spread here. Then 90. 95. All right, so I think it's safe to say mid to low 90s for this bad boy. Now, we want to do one more thing before we formally, ow, dang. All right, not a spinnable blaster, actually. The trigger goes back a little bit, creates a, what we like to call in the business, a very technical pinch zone. Maybe the other way. Yeah, you can reverse spin it fine, but no terminatoring the Ultra 4. All right, let's lay out the tape measure. Let's get some ranges because the claims aren't actually in FPS. These are good FPS readings. The claims are in feet. So let's lay out the tape and see what we got. All right, guys, so we're going to give it flat level shots, and then maybe we'll put one at a generous angle here. But we've laid out the tape measure. Our tape measure goes all the way to 105 feet. And then, of course, if we're getting those, as expected, 120-foot shots, they'll be off into the rough, and we'll never find these darts again, which honestly isn't the end of the world. I've been breaking these for comedic effect for a while now, and I'm slowly running out of them, and that's just not a huge issue for ammo like this. We don't need a lot of this ammo because I don't think that I have any real use for it in terms of a practical war scenario. So let's fire right along the tape measure, level shots. Well, that had some interesting hop up and hit the tree. As a professional courtesy, we will discount that result. In fact, we'll even take a step to the side. Nerf Ultra darts really like trees. These are not flying straight. They're like curving off in weird sorts of ways. Maybe I'm just spoiled by Steffens at this point. I know elite darts do the same sort of thing. So there's a couple level shots here. That one had good to it. That one kind of curved down, but I think it was otherwise very fair. One more level one. And then let's take a couple of angled shots. Pretend for a moment that they have prayers and a 20-mile-an-hour tailwind behind them, because I think that's how Hasbro got their results. Close. Woo! All right, that one wasn't terrible. Okay, so let's holster the blaster and start taking a walk here. See what we wind up with. So for our level shots, we're getting roughly what I expect from elite blasters. We have 1 and then 2 here at 56 feet. Pulling these directly over. This is definitely our tightest grouping. Zoomies aside, we have 2 more at about 59 feet. And if we come up here, we got pretty lucky with a 69-footer. Old Coop 772 would be thrilled with that result. And then up here, it looks like our 2 highest performers, I'm assuming these are angled shots, gave us 78, 79 feet. So we'll go ahead and generously call that 80. I'm trying to think if there's anything over here. And I don't think so. There's a couple of half lengths in the rough over there from previous tests that I don't have any desire to go hunting for. So in our very special, good for the environment moss backyard, I'm just kidding, guys. I'm lazy. I don't like mowing. So that seems to be the results. So obviously this was not done in a lab and with reasonable attempts to kind of get a fair and equivalent sort of scientific testing done with actual measurements and what have you, both of which are different than how Hasbro gets their results. So I think it's pretty conclusive to say that with angled shots, you can expect maybe 80 feet out of your Ultra 4. I'd pay good money to know what's going on with their testing procedures. However, on average, firing level shots at opponents, you're looking at somewhere realistically in the mid to high 50s with outliers at 70 feet. So at 15 United States dollars, I think that I would skip the Ultra 4 and definitely pick up something that not only costs less money, but has a far superior, far cheaper, far better dart geometry. And that's to say that, like, I still think that the Fire Strike is a great blaster. I still love the Nitefinder and the Fire Strike's just the iterative design of that. And then if you really want a larger mega kind of ammo type so that you can neck it down, I think that the Big Shock has a lot of different options. I think that if you're a Fortnite player and want to spend this kind of money, the hand cannon has a much, much cooler shell overall. I mean, there's just a lot of better options than this. I could gripe about the paint, but I've already done that ad nauseum. I wish that if you were going to make a bling bling product, you would bling bling both sides. That said, I continue to be disappointed by the Ultra line. We as a hobby community continue to be lied to by the Ultra line. And I'll leave it with my expectation that I always leave videos where I'm so incredibly disappointed by the #1 blaster brand, which is, if you're going to beat your chest, do better. I'll be cracking this guy open tonight live on Twitch. We'll find out both what makes it tick, how this special retraction works, and what the funky prototypey rattling I have going on is inside. But that'll be tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, twitch.tv/VampireDrac. Let's take it back to the studio. All right, guys, hopefully you feel somewhat enlightened about the Ultra 4. We actually have another Ultra Blaster entirely that we'll be doing content on in the very near future. I'm super excited to share that one with you. And then, of course, we're coming up very close on New York Toy Fair, which is one of our most ambitious shows of the year over here at Aethernaut. Very excited for that. We'll have more coverage of more blasters, including Ultra Blasters, I'm sure there. I do just want to give a quick shout out, as long as we've already certainly irked the mothership with this video, now is as good a time as any to plug the January Patreon patches for patrons who have given me their shipping information of the true fan level are shipping right now. They are going out in the mail. You can be expecting them pretty soon. And since we really had to make a Patreon push because Hasbro daggered us, I thought the most appropriate patch we could possibly kick off January with was this one. So I'll put a bigger picture of it up there. It is in fact too late to snag this one, and it is oh so sweet. But all I can tell you is that if you do pledge on my Patreon at that true fan level, not only are you the lifeblood that keeps the channel pumping forward, allows us to make content like this, keeps us free of any bias, which at this point we may be one of the last men standing, but also they're really sweet patches. My little sister Addie and I design all of them. We ship them out to you. You get something because you gave something, and that's what it's all about. So we really, really appreciate your support over on Patreon. It lets us pay our bills. It lets us eat decent meals every once in a while. And this one in particular is near and dear to my heart. So the January patch is ultra crazy mega level sweets. All I can say about the February patch is that it is befitting a professional foam flinger. So if you want to get in on that one, hit me up on Patreon. Link will be top of the description box down below. As always, much love. Nerf on Drac out.